There are people all over the internet that will tell you to take the leap, make the decision, in that relationship, move across the country, start your new job, quit your job, whatever it is. They encourage you to make all these huge life decisions. And what I don't think is talked about enough is the fact that even when you make these big decisions, and even when it's the right decision for you, you can still struggle. And what we're going to talk about today is some of the big life decisions that I made relatively recently and kind of how I'm processing the challenges around that, and then what you can learn from that as well. So, if you don't know, my name is Alexis. I'm posting on YouTube every single day. Check my track record. Today is day 22, and my goal is at minimum 100, but ultimately a full 365 days of daily posting here on YouTube. So if you're interested in career pivots, traveling, gaining confidence, navigating big life changes, etc., etc., feel free to subscribe to the journey. Hop on this train early, and everyone's welcome as long as you treat this house like it's your own. So come on in, take your shoes off, drinks are in the fridge, and bathrooms down the hallway. Okay, so the first major life change I made is I decided to move across the country. Literally, I was born and raised in California, and I moved to Maryland, literally on the on the opposite coast. And while I do think that ultimately it was the right decision for me, for quite a while I'd been feeling like California culturally just didn't fit me. I was having some excuse me, having some challenges socially. Not that I'm like socially awkward or anything, but again, I really think that socially and culturally, California just did not fit me. And I had known that for a while, but I wasn't really sure what the solution to it was until I realized I had free will and could could just leave. So, I left, and something that something that I wasn't fully anticipating is when I came, I had friends here. I had already started building connections with people that I had met, a year or two before. So we were in touch, we were on FaceTime, we were calling, all those things. And I'd even gone on a trip with like a big group of people from this area. So had friends here, but when your main support system is one relatively new, and two is not like built in like family. I have no family here. So it can be really anxiety inducing. And I think even if you're the type of person who's very secure in yourself, who tends to be very secure in your relationships, when you're building a new network and a new support system, anytime it's a little shaky, anytime there's a disagreement, anytime, someone does something or says something that might be a little off, even if it's not fully negative, it can really, at least for me, it bothered me probably more than it would have usually because I was still building here. So when you only have a few people and you're trying to expand, but you're not quite there yet, there's a lot of anxiety in potentially losing the few people that you do have. So that's a big thing. And then even relatively small things like feeling left out or feeling overlooked by the few friends you do have can have a much bigger impact on you than it normally would because everything is new. And the few people that you do have, the few people that are kind of anchoring you to, I don't want to say normalcy, but like anyone, if you have a support system, if you have friends or family or coworkers that you're close to, those are kind of going to be the people to anchor you in a new place, right? So anytime that something relatively small happens, it can rock you a little bit. Um the other aspect is, again, since I don't have family here, and don't get me wrong, love my parents, okay? But also, I moved across the country for a reason, right? I needed a change. There are still times, even though I'm not the type of person to talk to my family every single day, where a phone call or a FaceTime just doesn't fully cut it when you're looking for a specific type of connection. Like technology is great. I love the fact that I can FaceTime my mom every day and see her face. I love the fact that I can FaceTime my niece and my nephew and see them. But ultimately, physically, I'm here alone, and that can weigh really, really heavy on you. Even if, again, you made the right decision, even if the people that you left support your decision, even if you have good people where you are, when you don't have that like solid base of people who have known you your whole life and know all of your quirks and your sensitivities and all of those things, um it can be a lot. It can be a lot after a while. The other major life change that I made is I completely started over in my career in a new job, like a new role and a new industry that I had never worked in. I was working in healthcare before this. I had been working in healthcare pretty much since before the pandemic. So, yeah, right out of high school. So about 10 years. So I was going into my workplace, going into the hospital, at minimum 4 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week. But there are also times when it's short staffed and they need people and they're calling me, and I worked like 7 days for 16-hour shifts, and that's happened multiple times depending on the need. So now I think I started this job 2 weeks after I moved, and it's a remote job. It's in sales and it's in tech, which sounds great, right? And it is. It is. There are lots of benefits. There are lots of positive things that I think I get out of this job. But ultimately, there's a few things that I need to adjust to. One is navigating corporate culture. For instance, I have never had to manage relationships the same way as I do at this job. Like, your relationships with people can make or break whether you get a promotion. Your relationships with people can make or break whether you get fired or your coworker gets fired. The way you communicate your skills to your boss, make or break whether you get a raise or a promotion or you can move to a new team. None of these things are things that I have ever had to think about, and I am largely navigating this alone. Now, I'm very grateful to have mentors and people at this company and outside of the company that I can kind of talk through things with, and they can give me advice. But at my old job, the union was doing all that. So I never had to advocate for myself in this way, when before the union was like, hey, inflation, life has gotten more expensive. You need to pay everybody $2 more. And the company would pay everybody $2 more. Like, that's just how it worked. So there's a different level of stress knowing that there's a whole other aspect of my work life that I've never had to deal with before. Um, I took notes this time. Look at me being a half decent creator, y'all. Um, Another thing that I have definitely talked about in another video is imposter syndrome. I think I'm good at my job now, but still being new to this industry, this being my first sales job, this being my first job in tech, all this being my first corporate job, there are times when I'm like, how did I get here? Like, I know I earned my place here and I think I'm doing a good job, but especially in sales, like, there are months that are just bad. And again, with this not being a union job, this is an at will employment type of situation. Nothing's really guaranteed. Like, I could log into my laptop tomorrow and be let go without much of an explanation. And that's again, not to say that I don't love my job, because I do. I think if you've heard me talk about my job in other videos, you know that. But it's a scary thing to go from the relative security of, a more inconvenient, more laborious job than something like this. And even at well, almost 30 years old, navigating this is tough. It's anxiety inducing sometimes. Even though I know I made the right decision, even though I know that I joined the right company, even though I know that overall my stress level is less now versus my old job, it just it's still a struggle. Okay, that's the theme of the video, is I know I made the right decision, but it's still a struggle. Another aspect is the mental challenges that you face. Now, this does not matter whether you are exiting a relationship, whether you're moving to a new place, whether you're starting a new career, whether you're deciding to quit a job, quit a career, and move across an ocean. There are also just mental challenges, mental hurdles that you have to overcome. Like, if you were lonely in your home city, chances are that's not going to completely change when you move to a new place. At least not immediately. There's time that's required to build a community, to, meet people that when you need them are going to circle the wagon, to um yeah, just it takes time to build those connections and those relationships. And even though I had people here, it's very different than being around people who have known you your whole life. And that's a blessing and a curse, right? Like, part of the reason I wanted to move is because I wanted to kind of build my own narrative. It can be something when it feels like everywhere you go, oh, you're so and so's daughter. Oh, you're so and so's granddaughter. You're one of the whoa, I didn't know you were part of that family. That's crazy. And then without you telling this person really anything about you, they already have a whole history on your family. They might have automatically preconceived notions about you and the way you live and the decisions you make. Um, I've had people, even in adulthood, see me doing something, and then I hear from my parents, like, oh, so and so said they saw you, but we knew it wasn't you because we knew what you were wearing that day. Like, like out and about living my life, and people are reporting back to my parents like, oh, we saw Alexis doing XYZ. What y'all? So it's kind of a blessing to be where I am, but at the same time, everything is new. Nobody knows me here. Well, now people know me here, but when I first moved, like, there was a lot of mystery around who Alexis is and what type of person she is. Uh, and this is kind of going to go into my next point as well. But if you're depressed, if you have a lot of anxiety, if you're stressed, some of it might go away, but you're still going to have to battle that when you get here. I still have bouts of depression. And the difference is now when I'm here, all of my people are across the country. This is something that I have to battle on my own. Like, me praying and like, now, again, now that I've been here for a year and a half, now I do have people I can talk to. But for a long time, it was like, when you have bouts of depression back home, you can call one of your friends and say, hey, you want to have a movie night, or hey, you want to go to lunch, like, let's spend time together, I'm having a bad day. When you first move somewhere, when you first change your circumstances, when you maybe you're someone who's moving from a group of people that you know aren't like the best of friends, but you've known them forever. Now you're starting over. So even though they weren't the best people to be around for you, it's still something. And even though it's a good decision that you're not necessarily around those people, it's now a new struggle because you're alone. These are now challenges that you have to face completely alone. Another aspect, obviously, with me moving across the country, is I am in a new congregation now. You'll hear me talk about it, but I'm very involved in my ministry. And so I found a local congregation here. And don't get me wrong, they were wonderful. It's the reason that I chose the first congregation that I was in. I've since moved from that area. And I keep in touch with all those folks. But when I first came, I was like, it was maybe 3 weeks before I moved. I came to the area, I picked out an apartment, and I went to a couple, well, one of the congregations that was nearest to my apartment at the time. And I walked in, and a couple people walked up to me. They were like, "Oh, hi, are you visiting? Like, what's going on?" And I was like, "I'm actually moving to the area, trying to figure out, what congregation I want to go to." And they were like, "Oh, okay, well, welcome home. This is your congregation now." And I didn't even end up going to any other congregations. They ended up being amazing. It was like over the course of the next couple meetings that I went to, they were like, "Okay, so this is the person you talk to in like an emergency situation. This is the group that you're going to meet with for the ministry. If these are people that are in a similar situation, these are other single young women that you can hang out with, that, you know what I mean?" Like, they were so warm and so welcoming. But these are also new people that you have to get to know. So now there's 100 and something, well, 100 and like 130 new people that I have to meet that have no context on me and my struggles over the years. And again, that can be a blessing, but it can also be a challenge, because now if I tell one of them that I'm having a struggle spiritually, these people don't know me. Whereas previously, like in my parents' congregation and the congregations that I grew up in California, um, a lot of them had known me pretty much since birth, or probably at minimum since like the age of 5. Like, we'd pretty much been in the same area. So all of those local congregations had people that my parents had either known before I was born, or people that they met when I was like very, very young. So, even though they were wonderful, even though they were super warm, it's just different. And while I was very excited to, learn about the local ministry, obviously each place has its own just each place, the local population has things that they are more likely concerned with, right? Everyone is concerned with a few basic things, but each place kind of has its own intricacies. So, here, for instance, they're much more involved politically. So, now I have to do more research in the scriptures about politics so that I can tell them what the Bible says about it, right? They're much more into higher education. It's just different. It's a different flavor. And again, it's very exciting. It's what I was looking for. It's what I prayed for, but it's also a challenge. um, so what, what can we learn from this, right? I think, as I mentioned in the opening, it can be, people tell you to jump all the time. Jump, take the leap, chase your dreams. And when people do that and they don't get the immediate satisfaction, or the immediate, like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing," it can be easy to think you make the wrong decision. But shaky moments don't necessarily mean that the decision was wrong, right? You think about, like, going to the gym for the first time. If if you've been a couch potato for the last 5 years, the first time you pick up a weight, it's gonna hurt. The next day you might be sore. Or if you've been dealing with back pain and knee pain and sciatic pain and whatever, the first time you stretch, you might get some relief, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take some discomfort before you really get that full effect of, like, okay, I made the right decision. I need to be consistent with this. I don't need to give up and stop going to the gym, or stop stretching, or whatever it is, right? And a right decision doesn't mean immediate relief from whatever you're running from. So just because you hate your job and you quit, that doesn't necessarily mean that immediately all of your anxieties and whatnot are going to subside. A lot of them might, a lot of them probably will. But for us to expect that everything instantly, like all of our pain instantly goes away when we make a drastic decision is kind of ignorant on our part, me included. I am including myself in this because I didn't get that. Well, I got some relief, but it definitely wasn't like an immediate relief situation. So, I say all this to say, if you are someone who is contemplating a big life decision, maybe ending a relationship, maybe quitting a job, maybe moving, maybe making a big financial decision, one, weigh the cost. Okay. I do not know your circumstances. I don't know your financial circumstances. I don't know your relationship. I don't know your family relationship. I don't know where you live. I don't know what the state of your small town that you're trying to move out of is. So you need to make that calculation. I personally needed to weigh what my current situation is versus the potential of my new situation. So weigh the positives and the negatives. What is the absolute worst thing that can possibly happen if I make this decision, and what is the best outcome, and split the difference because it's probably going to be somewhere in the middle. That is huge. Like, it can be so tempting to hear a poem that you really enjoy, or hear someone on TikTok with good lighting sitting real close to the camera telling you that you should do everything that you desire and it doesn't matter, just take the leap and build the parachute on the way down. And there is some merit to that, but do not expect for everything to be perfect immediately. That is very, very important. I think if you are worried about a decision being hard, if you're worried about not getting what you want immediately out of a big decision, any of that, probably, probably. But again, if you're weighing your decisions and you think about it, if you are a praying person, if you pray about it, you're much more likely to make a decision that's good for you, even if it doesn't feel great in the moments following the decision, in the months following the decision, in the years following the decision, but you know ultimately it's going to benefit you. And those are the moments that I have very often. While I look at my current situation and I feel like it's in a lot of ways much more beneficial to me, it's also perfectly normal to have days when it feels like, oh my gosh, what did I do? Why did I decide to quit my job and start this business? Why did I decide to move out of my parents' house? Why did I decide, why did I decide to make this big decision? But ultimately, it was a good decision for me. And something that I'm remembering is there's a reason you made the decision. There were calculations that were made before you made this big jump. And just because you're having a shaky moment doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. And that's kind of the message for today. So thank y'all. Full disclosure, real quick. we're closing and I'm probably gonna spend another 2 minutes yapping, just FYI. If you don't know, my name is Alexis. I post every single day here on YouTube. Check my track record. Today is day 22. And I was trying to say jump and hop at the same time. Hop on this train early if this was at all interesting or motivating or whatever to you. Yeah, so here's the thing, y'all. If it feels like my energy is a little off today, you might be right. It's now, the sun is now going down. It is almost 6 o'clock. And I recorded this video at like 10 a.m., 9 or 10 a.m., I want to say. And I yapped for 24 minutes, turned off the recording, and then realized that I didn't turn the mic on. So none of the audio was recording. I was sitting here yapping like, I was livid. So I had to take one of my famous midday naps, had to get some work done. And there's something like I tend to do these videos early in the morning because there's something very it just doesn't sit right with me to have like a full day of work and then try to pivot to being somewhat creative in these videos. So, this is actually I think this is the first time I've made a video this late. Usually, like I said, I do them early in the morning. But anyway, I am proud of myself for getting this video out. If you are still here, thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. And yeah, I will see y'all tomorrow, hopefully early in the morning and not in the evening because I forgot to hit record on the mic again. See, the green button is here, so I know this one I got it this time. So y'all are gonna get this video. But woo. Anyway, thank you guys. See y'all tomorrow. Bye.